The Spirit of Vassar Award is given annually to an individual or a group whose volunteer efforts exemplify an enduring spirit of community and caring. This year's recipient truly possesses those qualities. Linda A. Malone came to Vassar in the fall of 1971 from Tennessee. She was a scholarship student who had settled upon Vassar at the suggestion of a favorite math teacher. She initially planned to major in math, but gravitated toward a double major in English and French. This was, who knows? This is due in large part to the influence and inspiration of her Middle Eastern grandfather, who taught Linda how to read as a young child and spoke fluent French and Arabic. It was the close relationship with her grandfather that piqued her interest in human rights, and in particular, international human rights issues. She intended to do graduate work in Middle East studies, but a Vassar faculty member suggested a degree in international law might be a more effective way to engage her passion in the world. So she did. She graduated Phi Beta Kappa from Vassar in 1975 and went on to earn her JD from Duke University and her Master of Laws degree from the University of Illinois in Urbana. Linda's career began by taking the traditional route of working for law firms and then clerking for a job. However, Linda missed her time in the empowering environment of academia that had once nurtured her strong desire to make the world a better place. So she left the court and returned to the academic world. And now, for 30 years, she has prepared legions of students for careers. Linda is on the faculty of William and Mary of the Law School, holding visiting appointments and distinguished scholar posts at various universities, ranging from the University of Denver and Duke to Ocean University in China. Her areas of specialty include comparative law, international law, human rights law, and environmental law. A field for which her book, which is titled Environmental Regulation of Land Use, has been the preeminent text for more than 20 years. She has authored and co-authored numerous articles and 12 additional books. I don't know how this girl does it. She is also the recipient of several awards, including 2 Fulbright scholarships, a grant from the National Endowment for Humanities, and a Millennium Award from the Virginia Women's Bar Association. Indeed, Linda Malone's professional accomplishments are considerable. We are here today, however, to recognize her pro bono work, which is also extensive. I'd like to share just a few examples. The United Nations brings representatives together from all over the world to develop various conventions on human rights issues, which are internationally agreed upon definition of what constitutes basic human rights. Linda served on the American Bar Association subcommittee that worked on the passage of 2 such conventions, the rights of the child and the elimination of discrimination against women. She was an original member of the Environmental Law Academy of the World Conservation Union, which helps the world find pragmatic solutions to environmental and developmental challenges. And building on her commitment to have a worldwide impact, Linda was a member of a team of pro bono attorneys responsible for representing Bosnia-Herzegovina against Serbia before the World Court. She was responsible for demonstrating that the systematic rape which occurred during the war was an international crime of genocide and a crime against humanity orchestrated at the highest command levels and not merely individual war crimes by lower-ranking soldiers. She is a shining example of what happens when you unleash a smart, motivated Vassar activist into the world. The college and the AAVC communities are all proud to recognize your accomplishments today. Linda, would you please join me at the podium?
Thank you, President Hill, Karen, all of you for coming today after last night's festivities. I was really deeply moved by this award. There are so many people, just in my class of 1975, not to mention generally at Vassar, who've done so much in terms of public service, that I accept this award on their behalf, and all others who caught the spirit of Vassar and dedicating even a part of their busy lives, like AAVC, to others. How did Vassar influence me to do what I do? Vassar quite simply made me into the person that I am today. It was transformative. I grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I was born the year that the Supreme Court mandated that schools desegregate with all deliberate speed. Well, I had never been out of the Deep South, but even as a child, I knew no one I knew did anything with speed, much less with deliberate speed. And I would be 10 years old before I could see the colored and the white signs taken down from the fountains and the bathrooms. When I applied to college, I was determined to get as far away as possible from the limited environment that I had known. I was going to go to someplace wonderful and new and free of all forms of prejudice. I was going to go to New York. I knew nothing about New York or colleges. But as he said, I had a math teacher when I had the illusion I was going to major in math, who said that Vassar was a very good college. And so I thought that's perfect for me. The kids to New York was going to be the brave new world I was seeing. And I was thrilled when I was admitted. Then reality said I couldn't possibly afford it. My parents wanted me to go to a local college. It just wasn't going to happen. Then my mother got a phone call out of the blue from an attorney in town. A foundation that he oversaw wanted me to interview with the foundation's founder for a scholarship. I met with Mrs. West in her home and we talked, and I can't remember a thing that I said. Her deceased husband had been an original investor in a little beverage company that most people think started in Atlanta, but actually started in Chattanooga. So for the next 7 years, in college and in law school, I went through my education on a tidal wave of Coca-Cola consumption. But I still had to convince my parents. I explained that Vassar was a very conservative, sheltered, studious, 7 sisters. They thought it was all women. And I didn't see any need to clarify that. They insisted, however, on driving me up. I was terrified. Even more so than most freshmen. Aside from the problem of how I was going to explain men being there, my parents were a potential powder keg of humiliation and embarrassment. They were married, divorced, remarried, redivorced over a period of 10 years. Let's just say their interaction was volatile. They barely made it through high school, and their accents were straight out of Deliverance. So we pulled up to Maine, the all-women dorm at the time that I had picked to continue my roots. Immediately, a young man wearing a Vassar shirt came over to help us unload the car. Students were helping us move in. His hair was a little long, but he was so helpful and polite and considerate that even my father overlooked that. Then came the question, "Where do you live, son?" "Maine." "No, I mean, where do you actually live?" "Maine, with my girlfriend." I spent the next 2 hours convincing my father not to put me in the car. My mother took my side, mostly because it wasn't my father's side. That was just day 1. Day 2, reception with President Alan Simpson. You see where this is going. Receiving line. 10 seconds to shake hands with the president. I could manage this, although I knew their accents would draw attention. Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Malone. And I see that Linda is from Maine. My father steps back. Hell no, we're from Tennessee. 5 seconds in, it didn't take 10 seconds. Day 3, would they let me stay? With tears and serious doubts, they left, and my Vassar life began. I had never been to an art museum. I had never been to a symphony. I had never been to a professional play. I wouldn't travel outside of the United States until I got my first law firm paycheck. But I took French and Arabic and every international course that I could. I made wonderful friends of a variety of backgrounds and experiences. My first 2 roommates in Maine were Karen Bloom from Buffalo and Rochelle Blumenbaum from the Bronx. Rochelle would be my roommate for 3 years until I started the off-campus French house my senior year. She told me that when she and her parents, who were Holocaust survivors, heard my parents and me in the room next door, and me going, yes ma'am, no sir, yes please, her sweet father, who I loved, looked at her and said, don't worry, Ro, it'll be okay. My additional roommate the next year was Sue Hassler, whose terrific musical taste would introduce me to some of my favorite music, including Tom Rush. I had 4 fantastic jobs. I was a research assistant in the French department, an assistant to Jameson Markham for the choir, Monica. Other choir members here? Yes, that's great. And I was a maid at Hyde Park in the Vanderbilt Mansion. It was a federal government job that paid minimum wage and the most per hour I had ever made. I thought it was the biggest boondoggle ever. I saw the Catskills. I sailed many weekends into New York City on the Hudson Valley Restoration Sloop at Clearwater, be serenaded by Pete Seeger and Don McLean, and teaching children about the environment. I went to the West Coast for the first time on a choir tour. And then there was Pizza Town. I barely drank, but went often for the other entertainment at Pizza Town. George presided over the bar, and his mother made the pizzas. Dirty Mothers, a lethal milkshake, and the even more lethal White Lightning. Do any of you remember how much those drinks cost? Out those of you, oh, you don't want to confess? $2, and everyone danced. It was a nightly private party hosted by George for the Vassar students that he loved and who loved him. He's here this weekend. Pizza Town closed the year we graduated, for unrelated reasons, but I don't believe it. In 4 years, I discovered myself, the world, and began to figure out my place in it. Thanks to a caring teacher, an unheralded philanthropist, and a lot of very, very lucky breaks. I knew firsthand how unfair and even cruel the world can be to those that don't have power and that are the most vulnerable, and how much I owed for what I had been given. Thank you, Mrs. Congo, Mrs. West, my parents who didn't understand at all except at the one moment it really counted, my friends in Vassar. But my greatest accomplishment, without a doubt, are my 2 daughters. And one who made it here after driving 3 hours from Philadelphia after a canceled flight, Erin.